From claims of healings and visions to the world's most inexplicable events, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the truth is always worth the hunt.
EWTN Radio presents The Miracle Hunter with Michael O'Neill.
Welcome to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill on the Miracle Hunter. I hope all the listeners out there had a wonderful celebration of the birth of our Lord this past week, and a celebration with family and friends. And I look forward to the new year of more episodes of The Miracle Hunter, but this is the last one for 2025. And so we'll be replaying some guests from the past. Father Edward Looney talking to us about the apparitions of Our Lady of Banneux, and also Dr. Robert Fastiggi, professor of Mariology, talking to us about the apparition to St. James, some of the apparitions celebrated in the beginning of this next year. Check out my series, They Might Be Saints, which airs every week on EWTN. Coming up on Tuesday, December 30th, is the episode on Blessed Solanus Casey. He was known far and wide as the miracle-working Capuchin friar from Detroit, and his beatification was attended by 60,000 people at Ford Field in 2017. I examine his simple yet remarkable life in this episode of They Might Be Saints. People who tune in can watch it on EWTN television, or you can go on to EWTN On Demand, and you can go in and type in theymightbesaints.com. You can check out that episode as well. And my other series, Explore with the Miracle Hunter, is the one where I travel all around the world and look at the various shrines from countries all around the world that have risen up as a result of miracles. And one of the fascinating places that I visited not too long ago was in Tixla in Mexico. And if you watch this episode, you can witness the stunning Eucharistic miracle that took place in Tixla, where human blood flowing from a consecrated host inspired awe and deepened belief in the real presence. And that is Explore Tixla on December 31st, coming right up on EWTN. And later in the show today, we're going to be looking at the Might Be Saint of the Day. For today, we've got Blessed Jan Havlik, who lived from 1928 to 1965 in Slovakia. The 365 Days with Mary project looks at Our Lady of the Rosary from Atibaia in Brazil in the year 1817. And the question of the week, what is a good resource for my personal pilgrimage coming up? Try to answer that one. And the miracle of the day is the healing at the discovery of St. Stephen's relics in the year 415. Let's take a look at the miracle news. We do this every week where we talk about a miracle happening around the world that lines up exactly to the day's date or otherwise. And very recently, on December 18th, they squeezed in another announcing of miracles miracles and canonizations, I should say, when Pope Leo received an audience is Cardinal Marcello Semeraro, the prefect for the dicastery for the causes of saints. And during this audience, the Pope authorized the dicastery to promulgate a decree regarding a miracle attributed to the intercession of Venerable Servant of God Enrique Ernesto Shaw, a lay faithful and father of family born on February 28, 1921 in Paris, and he died in 1962 in Buenos Aires. And he was a faithful layman and father, and he had an extraordinary zeal in defending and propagating the Catholic faith, and he ensured he was capable of concretely guiding and supporting the lives and choices of believers in their family and work environments. And for his beatification, if you go to the cause for the canonization, the DDF website, you can see that in the dicastery's examination of the alleged miracle happened to little Matthias. It was attributed to his intercession at the age of 5. On June 21st, 2015, he was kicked in the back of the head by a horse on a farm near Buenos Aires. He was transported unconscious to the city of Tulpacha, but due to the severity of the wound, he was unable to receive adequate treatment. He was taken by ambulance to the municipal hospital of Chivilcoy, and he was admitted around 3 p.m., and an x-ray revealed severe cranial and cerebral damage. And at this stage, Matthias's father first invoked Enrique Shaw, urging his acquaintances to do the same. And once the situation stabilized, the child was airlifted that evening to the Austral University Hospital in Pilar, where he was admitted to the pediatric intensive care unit in critical condition with a diagnosis of severe diffuse brain damage and intracranial or posterior fossa hypertension. And he underwent emergency craniotomy surgery to facilitate the cerebral decompression. and he underwent further surgeries, but after several days of extremely serious conditions on July 15th, it was surprisingly discovered that his ventricular system had returned to normal size. And from then on, progressive improvement was observed, and on July 28th, the child was transferred to Flenny Escobar Institute, where he remained hospitalized until September 18th for motor rehabilitation. Now, this improvement was confirmed by doctors in 2016 and 2018, and despite some mild neurological deficits, in 2019, the healed patient was examined by two experts as ab inspectione, who found him in good health with no significant neurological consequences, and he currently leads a normal life, participates in sports, and performs well in school. And that is today's miracle of the day as it relates to the miracle news for the day, as it relates to this brand new saint or blessed we have coming up, and that is Enrique Ernesto Shaw from Argentina. Let's take a look at Catholic Pub Trivia. We do this every week where we ask a trivia question, give out a prize to an emailer who writes in the fastest with the correct answer. Last week we spoke about Mother Cabrini, and Francis Xavier Cabrini was the first U.S. citizen to be canonized on July 7th, 1948 by Pope Pius XII. My question was, well, who was the second? And the second U.S. citizen to be canonized was St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Some people wrote in St. Catherine Drexel, others Kateri Tekakwitha, but the answer was Elizabeth Ann Seton. And writing in with that answer was James Jenkins. And, of course, we see St. Elizabeth Ann Seton as the first American citizen and canonized in 1975 by Pope Paul VI, or the first born in the United States to be canonized, being Elizabeth Ann Seton, canonized in 1975 by Pope Paul VI. And this week's question is, in what year did the Catholic Church first celebrate Mary explicitly on January 1st, being as the Solemnity of Mary? And there's been a long history in that feast day or that celebration. But when did they first call it the Solemnity of Mary? So that's today's question on January 1st, and we'll be celebrating that one coming right up. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be replaying an old interview with Father Edward Looney, author of How They Love Mary, about the apparitions of Our Lady of Banneux. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill and the Miracle Hunter. We have right around the corner, the beginning of next year, January 1st, the Solemnity of Mary, the Mother of God. And so, along those lines today, we're going to be talking about two Marian titles. The first is Our Lady of Banneux in Belgium, and this is one of the very modern Marian apparitions in history. And the story goes that in a garden behind the Beco's family cottage, Mary is said to have appeared to Mariette Beco at age 11 8 different times, and she called herself the Virgin of the Poor, and Mary promised to intercede for the poor, sick, and suffering. And after 14 years of investigation, these apparitions were actually officially approved by the Catholic Church in 1949. And it was so believable that in a show of Vatican support in 1985, Pope John Paul II went to Banneux and had an audience with Mariette at the sacristy. So really a highly approved Marian apparition and a very modern one. And so most people don't know this. We featured this on an episode of Explore with the Miracle Hunter. But for people who haven't seen that episode, perhaps they haven't even heard of Our Lady of Banneux. Well, we're so excited to be joined today by Father Edward Looney. He's the author of numerous Catholic books, including How They Love Mary. Welcome back to the show today, Father Edward.
It's great to be with you, Michael, and thanks for the invitation. I've been there in Belgium, just as you have been, and you know, it's just a very beautiful spot for prayer, and to be, of course, anywhere where Our Lady has appeared is always a great blessing.
Absolutely. And for those people who may not ever make it to Belgium to see this spot of Banneux. How would you describe the shrine from your visit there?
Yeah, it was many years ago now. It was probably back 2015 that I was there. So, but my remembrance and recollection, of course, is that, well, I had gone to Banneux, and then I went to Banneux. And so, kind of the stark difference between the two. So, like, Banneux was kind of more simpler in a sense. There wasn't as much, there was just something very different. Like, Banneux was all about the message. Banneux was you go there, you can find the spring, there's water there. You walk around, there's lots of different chapels. There's a big chapel or a hall as well. So there's a lot to explore, I guess. Getting out of the car in Banneux is like, I don't know if I'm in the right spot. Getting out in the car in Banneux is, I know I'm at a Catholic destination. So that was my experience.
Yeah, I think the same. I think the Banneux shrine is perhaps the coldest and smallest Marian shrine for an approved apparition that I've ever come across. And like you say, you don't quite know you're in the spot of such a place. But we're talking today about Our Lady of Banneux, who's known as the Virgin of the Poor. And so let's just kind of paint the story for people. Who was Mariette Bacot, and what did she see?
Yeah, so Mariette Bacot, she is this young girl, and happens right after the apparitions in Banneux. So Banneux finishes January 3rd, I think, 1933, and then you have January 15th. And so this girl is standing basically at her living room window looking outside, and she sees this beautiful woman. That's how she described her. And she said, she's beautiful. She's smiling at me. Now, her mother said, it's a witch. It's not the Blessed Virgin. Her father was actually a member of the Communist Party, I believe. And so there wasn't a lot of faith in the home. So there wasn't kind of this acceptance of even entertaining the notion that this was a religious apparition or experience that Mariette was having.
And what about Mariette herself? Was she a very religious child?
No, she wasn't. In fact, she really struggled in her catechism classes. She was not going to be making her first communion. In a lot of sense, I would say that Banneux really reminds us of Our Lady of Lourdes. And, I have a statue in I have a collection of Mary statues from all my travels. Maybe you've done something similar.
Yeah,
but
you and me both, strangely. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, if you put Our Lady of Lourdes right next to a statue of Our Lady of Banneux, you're going to be like, is this Our Lady of Lourdes? And there's so many different similarities between the two apparitions. And in fact, there is a February 11th apparition. But the reason I bring that up is, Bernadette herself in this Lourdes apparition, Our Lady really prepared her for First Holy Communion. And that's the story of Mariette Bacot, too, is that Our Lady comes and she begins to take her faith more seriously as a result of these messages. And she kind of has this renewed fervor for her religious ed or her catechism classes, and goes to the priest, who then becomes amazed by the faith of this young girl.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's pretty interesting is that you mentioned the family of Mariette, the mother and the father. They weren't all that pious, and they weren't inclined to believe her. But in all stories of Marian apparitions, nobody believes the child claiming to see visions of Mary. So that's nothing new. But one of the remarkable things is the father. He has a little bit of a turnaround.
Yeah, so he eventually, of course, does have kind of this conversion experience, as you would say. And there have been so many fruits of these different apparitions, and especially there, too, the fact that there is this spring of water. People take the water. People are blessed with the water. They experience graces. And there are cases in these Marian apparitions. I believe I was told that Lucia de los Santos, the visionary from Fatima, her parents never believed that she saw Our Lady. Like, they went to the grave doubting that their daughter saw the Blessed Mother. So to have Mariette's family have this experience of a conversion and acceptance and leave kind of their former way of life and embrace kind of this message, this is really what Marian apparitions do. They bring and spark conversion. They bring us back to the sacraments.
Absolutely. We're talking today with Father Edward Looney, author of numerous Catholic books, including How They Love Mary, about Our Lady of Banneux, ahead of that feast day on January 15th. And as is the case, the Catholic Church often waits a little bit of time before they give an approval to a claimed Marian apparition. Talk a little bit about the process of what the Church did to investigate and what kind of judgment they came out with.
Yeah, so of course, how Banneux was evaluated is a lot different than how Marian apparitions today are evaluated. Today, there's a guiding document from 1978 from the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith that helps bishops in that process. But it began at the local level, investigating Banneux. I remember reading some documentation, in fact, after maybe a pastoral letter that the bishop at the time had written in the early 1930s. I came across this in archival research, but basically he was giving his credence and his belief to the apparition. So there is kind of that process where you look at the messages. Now, this isn't an apparition where there are tomes of messages that you would have to go through. They're very simple messages, much like Borang, very simple phrases that Our Lady spoke. So very easy to look, is there anything contrary to faith? You look at the life of the visionary. I know some people have raised concern about the life of Mariette, but I've never really come across that. Someone mentioned that to me. They had questions or concerns about her and why the church, validated, et cetera. But obviously they took into consideration all of those factors at that time when they made that judgment about the apparition.
Yeah, it was a 14-year investigation, so it was quite a thorough investigation, giving that official approval of constate supernaturalitate, established as supernatural, which is the highest level of approval coming from the local bishop, who's the first and foremost authority in the cases of Marian apparitions. And then we see Pope John Paul II visiting the shrine there years later.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing to have. To have the papal visit, and I remember seeing pictures of in Banneux of that. I saw them in Borang too, and so that the Holy Father himself was a pilgrim. So interesting thing about Borang, Our Lady said, "I've come so people may come on pilgrimage," and then really just 10 minutes, an hour away, there's another pilgrimage spot, and so she came twice for that very reason.
Yeah, I think that Belgium was the epicenter of Marian apparitions for a couple years there. And you might have come across this as well, Father, is that after those two apparitions, much like Lourdes, where Bernadette claimed visions of Mary, there were many copycat visionaries around France, also in Belgium in the decade afterwards. You see the highest number of reported Marian apparitions in Belgium, other people claiming they saw Mary as well.
Yeah, I guess I'm not surprised by that, especially because you have these two right on the heels of each other. In fact, that's what people thought when Mariette began claiming to have visions. They're like, "You're just imitating the girls and boys from Borang," but over time, of course, the realization would be, no, this is legitimate, this is real, and I think it's just a beautiful little story. The fact that Our Lady comes. There's always the smile, so I think that's a beautiful image to think of Mary smiling at the visionary, but it's really this invitation, like Mary invites her to follow her. Mary leads her to the spring of water. So it's just this very warm apparition in that sense of Mary inviting. And so just as she did that for Mariette, she does that for pilgrims today. Whether you visit literally or if you visit just reading about it, looking at images, whatever, you can make a spiritual visit too.
And I encourage people to check out my program. This is a little plug here for Explore with the Miracle Hunter. I did get to go there and film there, and we did some beautiful recreations of these events. So for people who want to learn more about the apparitions of Our Lady of Banneux, check out Explore with the Miracle Hunter Banneux, and I go through all those details on that program. And we've been talking today with Father Edward Looney, How They Love Mary. He's the author of that book and numerous other Catholic books. And if we had to sort of look at Banneux, Our Lady calling herself the Virgin of the Poor, what would you say is the takeaway message or the reason for the visit in this case?
Yeah, I think, of course, it's always healing. There's that healing component. The fact that she says, "I've come to reserve the spring for the," I think she says, "for the healing of the nations." So there is that characteristic. People do claim healings when they go there. I think, too, at this time, war was going to be breaking out and happening around Belgium and whatnot. And so there's just something about having a little sanctuary of peace to go to and to have a little piece of heaven in that spot. In the sixth apparition, she said, "Believe in me and I will believe in you. Pray very much." And that was kind of the mantra in both Boring and Banneux. It was pray very much, pray always. So it's a renewed message to prayer and an invitation to pray more, too. So those are just some of the things that immediately come to mind.
Yeah, very well put. We've been talking today with Father Edward Looney. Father, thank you so much for breaking down this apparition, this little-known Marian apparition, Our Lady of Banneux in Belgium. And like I say, we say, many people will not get to go there. I remember I led a pilgrimage there, and the pilgrimage guide, in fact, said, I've led people to all the Marian shrines around, and this is only my second time in 20 years going there. So this is a kind of a rare place to visit. So we're grateful to you, Father Edward Looney, for telling us about what we'd see there and the meaning of the place and the message. And for people who want to find out more about you, about your books and your other activities, what's the best place for people to go?
Yeah, so I'm on social media at FR Edward Looney, and you can find me Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. There's a website, edwardlooney.com. And I just put in a little plug, too. Anna Nuzzo has a beautiful song, Virgin of the Poor. You can basically search her name on YouTube, and people can listen to this song that she wrote about this Marian apparition as well. I know I enjoy listening to that song.
Yeah, absolutely. I am quite familiar with that as well, so I encourage people to check that one out. Well, thank you so much, Father Edward Looney, author of How They Love Mary, for talking to us again about Marian apparitions, and today about Our Lady of Banneux, with a feast day coming up on January 15th. Thank you so much, Father, for joining us on today's program.
Well, blessings to you and to all.
God bless. That was Father Edward Looney. Check out his book, How They Love Mary, and also his website, edwardlooney.com.
We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at the question of the week. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. I love getting your questions. People write in from around the world with questions about miracles happening in today's world and those that have happened centuries ago. And I love getting the questions in my email inbox. I've got a strange email inbox for sure, but I also love answering questions in person. And I travel around the country maybe 10 to 20 times a year at different parishes or shrines or different other conferences where I speak on miracles, of course, and I speak on Eucharistic miracles or Marian apparitions or how the Catholic Church investigates the supernatural or sainthood causes. But I always like to open it up to questions at the end regardless, and it's so interesting to see what people are thinking about. And for people who are interested in having me speak at your parish, you can go to my website, miraclehunter.com, click on the Contact tab, or send me an email to questions@miraclehunter.com, and maybe I'll be speaking at a parish near you sometime soon. So today's question comes from Linda. Linda says, "Hello, Michael. I wanted to reach out to you because I am visiting the Carmelite Priory where Our Lady gifted the brown scapular, and I'm also going to be going to Walsingham, followed by Fatima and Lourdes and Nevers and Paris to see the miraculous medal site, and also Rome for the site of 2 apparitions there. Any guidance on where I can go to learn more about these places before I visit him? Merry Christmas, Linda." Well, Merry Christmas to you, Linda. Thanks so much for your email. And what an exciting itinerary. I'm a little jealous that you get to swing by all those places of great miracles. And it's kind of interesting because I've been to those places myself. And so I could recommend various resources, but you might also go to explorewiththemiraclehunter.com. And I have an episode already on that Aylesford apparition of Mary, the brown scapular one, and also in Walsingham, that apparition there, and at Fatima and Lourdes, and Nevers in France, and Paris with the miraculous medal, and in Rome, the apparitions, I think you may be referring to the ones at Tre Fontane and also at St. Mary Major. Those have episodes as well. So go to explorewiththemiraclehunter.com, and I encourage anybody going on a pilgrimage to any of these sites to tune in. And I always try to stuff it full of information, and you'll know more going into those places than you ever would if you hadn't watched. So I encourage you to watch those episodes. Go to explorewiththemiraclehunter.com. We have something like 50 episodes posted there, so I hope you enjoy. So thanks, Linda, for your question. If you have a question for the Miracle Hunter, send me an email to questions@miraclehunter.com, and maybe we'll be answering your question on the air next week. Let's take a look at the 365 Days with Mary project. We do this every week where we talk about the Marian devotion of the days that lines up exactly to the day's date. For today's date, we've got Our Lady of the Rosary from Atibaia in Brazil in the year 1817. And slaves who couldn't attend St. John the Baptist Church in Atibaia started construction of their own church in 1763, later known as Nossa Senhora do Rosario de Pretos, Our Lady of the Rosary of the Blacks. It was completed in 1817, and the region's oldest and most active tradition in that region is found there in Atibaia, with 4 Congada groups combine African and Portuguese religious practices. In devotion to St. Benedict and Our Lady of the Rosary, as they have for over 2 centuries, the Congadas gather outside Our Lady's Church at dawn, dressed in brilliant uniforms of scarlet, green, blue, pink, black, white, carrying swords, banners, and musical instruments. And the December 27 celebrations begin with a serenade and ends with fireworks. And that is Our Lady of the Rosary from Atibaia in Brazil in the year 1817. For more information on this fascinating devotion, or any of the hundreds of other Marian devotions from around the world, you can go to 365dayswithmary.com, pick up the book, download the app, or visit the Facebook page of 365 Days with Mary. You get a different title of Mary on your Facebook feed each and every day of the calendar year. Let's take a look at the miracle of the day. Each week we talk about a miracle that happened on this date in Christian history. And for today's date, we have the healing and discovery of St. Stephen's relics in the year 415. And it refers to the extraordinary cures people reported when the remains of St. Stephen were discovered near Jerusalem. And contemporary Christian accounts state that dozens of people suffering from blindness, paralysis, and other serious illnesses were suddenly healed during the translation of the relics. And these healings spread rapidly throughout the Christian world and were cited by figures such as St. Augustine as evidence of God's continuing power through the saints. And this event helped cement St. Stephen's importance in the church and traditionally ties to his feast day at the end of December. And that is today's Miracle of the Day. And let's take a look at the sainthood news. We always try to talk about they might be saints, those people who are on the path to sainthood, those people who are servants of God, venerables, blesseds, before they have all their miracles and are recognized by Rome as saints. And so very recently, Pope Leo, that was on December 18th, Pope Leo received an audience, His Eminence Cardinal Marcello Semeraro, the prefect for the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints. And during this audience, the Pope authorized the same dicastery to promulgate a decree regarding the heroic virtues of the servant of God, Enrico Bartoletti, the Archbishop of Lucca, born on October 7th, 1916, in Casalano in Italy, and died on March 5th, 1976. And he was the Archbishop of Lucca, and he drew nourishment and strength from prayer, careful study, and meditation on the Word of God, and the Eucharist was the source and summit of his spirituality. And those who knew him were struck by his way of praying and celebrating the Holy Mass. His episcopal motto, In Spe Fortitudo, testifies the importance of hope, which he lived to a heroic degree. And that's the sainthood news for today. We have a whole new list of venerables and blesseds coming right out of Rome from this December 18th consistory. We'll have more for you next week. And And let's take a look at the might-be saint of the day. For today's date, we've got Blessed Jan Havlich, who lived from 1928 to 1965 in Slovakia. He was born on December 27th in Slovakia, and he was the eldest of 4 children in a very poor family. And he was a member of the Society of the Missionaries of St. Vincent de Paul, and Jan began studying at the seminary at Banneux in Slovakia in 1949, and he was noted as an excellent speaker, an excellent singer, and for his devotion to the Virgin Mary. In 1951, he was arrested by the communist authorities on October 29th. He was imprisoned, starved, neglected, interrogated, put into forced labor, and repeatedly tortured before being sentenced to 10 years. And the sentence was later extended to 11 years for refusing to renounce his faith. His health was broken. He was finally released on October 29, 1962. He returned home, and he died soon after and is considered a martyr. And so he was beatified in 2023 by Pope Francis, and that was celebrated in the Basilica in Slovakia by Cardinal Marcello Semeraro as the chief celebrant. And that is today's might-be saint of the day. Blessed Jan Havlich, with one more miracle, he will go on to be known as Saint Jan Havlich. And for those people who are interested in this project, They Might Be Saints, where I look at those people on the path to sainthood, you might be interested in my book, They Might Be Saints, which is available from EWTNRC.com, EWTN Religious Catalog. I think it's my best one. And I look at 24 American saints or blesseds, venerables, before they're saints. And I also do a television series which lines up exactly to the television series, They Might Be Saints, which airs December 30th on Tuesday. I look at the life of Blessed Solanus Casey. He was known far and wide as the miracle-working Capuchin from Detroit, and his beatification was attended by 60,000 people at Ford Field in 2017. And I examine his simple yet remarkable life. Check out theymightbesaints.com to watch all the episodes, or tune in to EWTN to watch them as well. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be hearing from an old interview with Dr. Robert Fastiggi, the professor of Mariology from Sacred Heart Seminary, about the apparition to St. James, Our Lady of the Pillar. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. People know that I'm very interested in Marian apparitions, and if you go to my website, miraclehunter.com, you can find as many as 2,500 apparitions cataloged on my website all throughout Christian history. Even up to this modern day, and dating back to an apparition that was said to happen in the year 40, right after the death of Christ, and received by St. James. People will often ask that question, what is the very first Marian apparition in history? And the answer to that trivia question is this apparition to St. James. And there's a beautiful basilica there, and it's still celebrated with many women being named Pilar in Spain. Actually, it's quite a common first name because of the celebration of this first Marian apparition in history. Well, we're so excited today to be joined by Dr. Robert Fastiggi, professor of Mariology and other topics at Sacred Heart Major Seminary in Detroit, and co-author of the book with me, Virgin, Mother, and Queen from Ave Maria Press. We're so excited to welcome back to the program Dr. Robert Fastiggi.
My pleasure to be here, Michael, and Merry Christmas and Happy Feast of St. John the Apostle, whose brother is St. James, who, according to Catholic tradition, is the first recipient. St. James, one of the sons of thunder, who received an apparition according to tradition, in the year 40 A.D. in what is now Zaragoza, Spain. And it's a great testimony. And actually, what is unusual about this, it really was an apparition when the Blessed Mother was still alive on earth.
That's right.
It was really a bilocation, and it really is the major shrine to Our Lady in Spain, and it is considered to be the oldest church, or a location of a church in honor of Our Lady.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and as I mentioned, it's still celebrated and honored today, despite being such an ancient, you might say, Marian apparition or event. And let's talk a little bit about the circumstances. The Apostle James the Greater, why was he in Spain anyway, in Saragossa?
Well, of course, the apostles were sent by our Lord to preach the good news to the ends of the earth, and so he was there in Spain, and he was preaching on the banks of the Ebro River in what was then called Caesarea Augusta, but then the name Zaragoza comes from Caesarea Augusta. You could see how it would come from that, and he was not having a great success in preaching to the pagans there, and he thought that his mission was destined to be a failure, and he was quite depressed. And so he was deep in prayer when he witnessed this apparition of the Blessed Virgin Mary, who was standing atop a pagan pillar or standing stone, and he saw her, and she appeared to him, and she gave him the pillar and a statue of her with the infant Jesus, and saying, "This place is to be my house, and this image and column shall be the title and altar of the temple that you shall build, and the people of this land will honor greatly my son Jesus." And then he builds a chapel, but he was told by the Blessed Mother to return to Jerusalem, where he was martyred, really the first apostle to suffer martyrdom in the year 44 AD. So it's quite a remarkable story, and there have been miracles associated with it. He's also very important for Spain because his relics, as you know, there in his gravesite was rediscovered by a hermit around the year 800. And the hermit found the burial site after noticing an unusual star formation. And so there's the cathedral there called Compostela, Santiago de Compostela, the great place of pilgrimage. But that's about a 7.5-hour drive from Zaragoza. So where Our Lady appeared to St. James is in Zaragoza, where his burial site is in Compostela, the starry field in Galicia in Spain.
Amazing. We're talking today with Dr. Robert Fastiggi from the Sacred Heart Major Seminary, talking to us about the very first apparition in history, or by location, as we discussed, to St. James. She's known as Our Lady of the Pillar. And if you go to that beautiful basilica in Zaragoza, they do actually still have what they present as that pillar of jasper, the material jasper, that people can actually go and venerate. You can kneel in front of it and touch it. So they do have what they consider traditionally to be this spot where the Virgin Mary appeared. It's absolutely amazing. And now this apparition of Our Lady of the Pillar, it's still recognized in Spain. It's a popular devotion there as well. But mystics throughout the years have also referenced this event as well.
Oh yes, I'm very glad you brought it up. Well, one of the great mystics of Spain is Venerable Maria of Agreda. And actually, her cause for beatification is somewhat put on hold while her writings are studied. But there was a conference on her in November at the Antonianum in Rome, and Pope Francis sent a message speaking very highly of her holiness. But she was a 17th century Franciscan nun, and she confirms this the truth through her mystical revelation. And she said, when that Our Lady appeared with many angels who were singing songs of joy, and the Blessed Mother consoled St. James, who was despondent after his lack of success in his mission, and she said, "My son James, the Most High and Mighty God of heaven, has chosen this place that you may consecrate and dedicate here a temple and house of prayer, where under the invocation of my name he wishes to be adored and served, and all the faithful who seek my intercession will receive the graces they ask if they have true faith and devotion, and in the name of my Son I promise them great favors and blessings." And as you know, there was the great miracle of a boy who was amputated, had a leg amputated, and going to Our Lady of Pilar, he had his leg restored miraculously. So there have been many miracles and conversions associated with Our Lady of the Pillar, and also the 19th century mystic who is beatified, Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, also confirmed the same story of Our Lady of the Pillar. I know there are skeptics there saying, well, there's not a consistent tradition since the 13th century and so on, but I think what we have to realize is, Spain was under, Iberia was under the control of the Muslims for centuries, so it was hard to visit these shrines then. But popes have confirmed this devotion. As you well know, that Pope Callistus III issued a bull in 1456 specifically naming Our Lady of the Pilar and encouraged pilgrimages to this oldest Marian shrine. In 1723, Pope Innocent III, I think it was later, another Pope Innocent, of all the places that Spain offers for the veneration of the devout, the most illustrious is doubtless the sanctuary consecrated to God under the invocation of the Blessed Virgin, under the title of Our Lady of the Pilar at Saragossa. There was a canonical coronation by Pope St. Pius X on May 20th, 1905, and Pope Pius XII declared her the patroness of the Hispanic world. Huh. And Pope St. John Paul II visited the Basilica November 6, 1982, and with great emotion removed his zucchetto from his head and left it and a beautiful rosary as a remembrance of his visit. So popes have gone there, supported the devotion, and this we have to be to see how great the devotion is, and especially in the Hispanic world. She's very Our Lady of Pilar is very prominent, even in the Philippines, which of course was founded. The Europeans who went to the Philippines were Spanish.
That's right.
And so she's a great patroness of the Philippines too.
Absolutely. We're talking today with Dr. Robert Fastiggi from Sacred Heart Major Seminary and co-author of the book Virgin Mother and Queen with me from Ave Maria Press. And as we know, for modern Marian apparitions, the investigation of the local bishop is very important. But in the early days of the church, there was no investigative process that was established for Marian apparitions and other types of miracles. And so when we see the attention of popes who go to visit these places and give it their attention and recognition, that's as significant as anything to show the support of the church for a given devotion. And we've been talking about Our Lady of the Pillar. And if we were to sort of extrapolate out from the story where Mary is appearing and comforting St. James and encouraging him, what can we take away in our understanding of the devotion of Our Lady of the Pillar?
Yes, it's a very good question. I've thought about this, and he felt like a failure in Spain and then was martyred in Jerusalem. But the fact that there was a shrine put there early on to Our Lady, she oversaw the evangelization of Iberia, what is today Spain and Portugal. And there's great devotion to Our Lady in Iberia. And so it really shows, similar to Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico, the role that the Blessed Virgin Mary plays in evangelization. She's been called by several popes the star of evangelization and the star of the new evangelization. In other words, she's like a guiding star who leads the way, and that she really, as the spiritual mother of the world and the mother of the church, assists the evangelizers today in spreading the faith. And so it shows how important the Blessed Virgin Mary is in the work of evangelization, and one of her titles is Queen of the Apostles. So she was already, during her earthly life, assisting the Apostle James and consoling him, and look how the faith spread in Spain later on with great devotion to Our Lady. So this, I think, this apparition in 40 AD was an early indication of the success that would follow, but in God's time. But that she there standing on the pillar of what was a pagan site shows that she will help lead the people of that region to the adoration of her Son.
Absolutely. We've been talking today with Dr. Robert Fastiggi from the Sacred Heart Major Seminary about the very first apparition in history, that St. James the Great, Our Lady of the Pillar, there in Zaragoza, Spain. And Dr. Robert, when we talk about your work and the projects that you have ahead, I know you have a book coming out perhaps in February. Tell us a little bit about what you've been working on.
Oh yes, well I work in Mariology, and I work together with Dr. Mark Miravalle. We're trying to spread a deeper knowledge of Marian co-redemption, her role in the work of redemption and the mediation of grace. So we are involved with an online journal called Ecce Mater Tua, which comes out twice a year. But I also co-edited a book of essays defending humane vitae and Catholic sexual morality. And this was based on a conference in Rome in December 2022, and a few of the essays had to be translated and so on. But Dr. Matthew Levering is the co-editor, along with me, of this book, which will be published by Sapiencia Press of Ave Maria University and distributed by Catholic University of America Press. And it will be called Humane Vitae and Catholic Sexual Morality. And because some people are questioning this teaching of Humane Vitae, saying it's subject to change and so on. But the essays in this book argue, no, this is a definitive teaching of the Church. We have to manifest the wisdom of that great encyclical of St. Paul VI, Humane Vitae, from 1968. So we have some outstanding authors, Monsignor Livio Malina, Professor John Finnis, Professor Michal Wallstein, and others. So it is, I think, a good book coming at this time when there's great confusion in dealing with Catholic sexual morality.
Well, thank you for that. And the other book that I've mentioned is Virgin Mother and Queen from Ave Maria Press, where we cover the top 10 most highly approved Marian apparitions in church history. And that was a co-authored book with Dr. Robert Fastiggi and I. So check that one out as well. That's available from EWTNRC.com. And I'd like to thank you today, Dr. Robert Fastiggi, for joining us today to talk about this first apparition, the great apparition to St. James, Our Lady of Pilar. Thank you so much for joining us on today's program.
Oh, well, thank you, Michael, and may God bless your ongoing great work, because you are the miracle hunter, and God is the one who performs the miracles. But you are hunting them and manifesting them to the world. So God bless you in your work.
Thank you so much. And that was Dr. Robert Fastiggi talking to us about the apparition to St. James, Our Lady of the Pilar. And that's all the time we have for today's program. If you missed any of this episode or want to catch up on past episodes, you can go to ewtn.com/radio, check out the audio archives, or download the free EWTN app. I'd like to thank our guest today, Father Edward Looney, talking to us about Our Lady of Banneux, and Dr. Robert Fastiggi talking to us about Our Lady of Pilar. And I'd like to thank you for joining me today on Miracle Hunter, where from claims of healings and visions to the world's most inexplicable events, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the truth is always worth the hunt. Happy New Year, everyone.